The story begins the moment someone spots her, a small figure against the long stretch of rail, the kind of sight that makes your stomach drop before your mind even catches up. At first, it does not look real. People walk past train tracks every day and never expect to see a person bound to the steel, lying still, almost blending with the gravel and dust around her. But once the reality hits, it hits hard. She is tied down at the wrists and ankles with rope that looks rough enough to burn skin. Her clothes are smeared with dirt, and her hair is pushed across her face by the wind that sweeps through the open stretch of land. It is the kind of scene that should only belong in old movies or exaggerated stories told to scare kids, yet here it is in front of ordinary people who were just living an ordinary day. The first witness steps closer, unsure whether to shout, touch, or freeze. The rail hums lightly beneath his shoes, a warning that something bigger is coming. He calls out to her. She barely moves, barely shifts, as if trying to conserve whatever energy she has left. Fear runs through him, fast and cold. He pulls out his phone with shaking hands, but calling for help feels too slow, too small. He knows trains cut through this section at high speed. He knows they do not slow for anything. He waves at others nearby, his voice cracking as he tries to alert them. Within seconds, a small crowd forms, drawn by confusion first, panic second. People look around for someone in charge, anyone who might know what to do. A woman kneels beside the rails, careful not to touch the girl yet terrified to leave her side. Her breath catches when she sees how tightly the ropes dig into the girl's skin. Another man tries to work his fingers under a knot, but pulls back when he realizes it is tied in a way meant to hold, not slip. Every second feels like it is ticking louder than the last. Someone shouts to check how far away the train is. Someone else stares down the tracks, praying for a clear view, praying even harder for more time. The girl's face is pale, but her eyes flicker open just enough to show fear mixed with something harder to name. She tries to speak, but her voice is weak and strained. The crowd leans in, trying to hear her, trying to read her lips, trying anything that might help them understand how she got here or what she needs. A few people argue about whether to pull her up together, but they are afraid of causing more harm. Others reach for whatever tools they can find, though none of them seem right for cutting tough rope. It is chaos mixed with helplessness, the kind that makes every person feel the weight of responsibility pressing on them. Someone runs toward the nearest crossing in hopes of warning incoming trains. Another person dials emergency services again, louder this time, desperate for a faster answer. The group keeps growing as passers-by stop, then hesitate, then step closer, caught between fear and instinct. The air feels heavier by the minute. The ground seems to vibrate more with each passing second. No one knows exactly how much time they have. They only know it is not enough. The girl's breathing grows more ragged, and it pushes a new urgency through everyone standing there. A teenager strips off his hoodie and tries to wedge it between the ropes and the rail, hoping to create space. An older man pulls out a pocket knife, but the blade barely scratches the fiber. People shout over each other, trying to coordinate, trying to stay calm, failing more often than succeeding. Every sound seems amplified, from the sharp clicks of phones recording or calling for help, to the low murmur of fear passing from one person to the next. Someone keeps calling out the same words again and again, almost like a mantra meant to push back panic. Hold on. Stay awake. We are trying. We see you. We are not leaving. The girl tries to focus on those voices. Her eyes shift, searching for the face behind them. Her fingers twitch against the ropes, a small sign that she is conscious enough to fight, but not strong enough to free herself. The sun hangs low, catching on the metal rails and making them shine too bright. Heat rises off the ground in faint waves, blurring the distance and making it harder to tell how far the danger is. People squint down the line, hoping to see nothing, fearing they will see everything. The tension grows thicker, spreading through the crowd, until even breathing feels oddly loud. Time feels like it is speeding up and slowing down at once, pulling everyone into the same silent question that none of them want to answer out loud. The sound comes before the sight, a deep metallic rumble that everyone in the crowd recognizes instantly even if they wish they did not. It starts as a faint vibration underfoot, subtle enough that someone might mistake it for nerves, but then it grows heavier, fuller, building with a rhythm that only one thing on Earth matches. A train is approaching, and it is approaching fast. The witnesses trade looks that say everything their mouths cannot seem to form. They know what this means. They know what is coming, and they know how little time is left. A man at the edge of the group leans out over the tracks, trying to get a clear look past the heat haze and the bend in the line. Then he sees it, a distant glint of metal catching the light, reflecting it in short flashes like a warning signal written in Morse. He jerks back, shouting that the train is close. His voice cracks from sheer panic, but it doesn't stop him from yelling again, louder, pushing the truth into air that already feels too tight to breathe. People spin toward the sound, and a shock ripples through them as the reality hits. The train is not minutes away. It is seconds turning into fewer seconds. The hum shifts into a thundering vibration that crawls up through shoes and legs and settles in the chest. It is a sound that wipes out conversation and replaces it with instinct. Someone screams that they need to move her now. Others drop to their knees by the girl, tugging at the ropes again, even though they already know they will not budge. The knots are reinforced. Whoever tied her chose their materials and techniques with intention. The ropes grind against her skin as people struggle, but there is no time to be gentle. Not anymore. The girl hears it too. Her eyes flutter wider, sharp with terror that had been softened only minutes before by exhaustion. The approaching roar seems to pull her back to awareness, and she tries to lift her head even though the ropes restrict the movement. Her breathing speeds up. Her chest rises and falls in quick, uneven bursts. She does not need anyone to tell her what that sound means. Across the crowd, someone waves their arms and screams down the line, trying to catch the engineer's attention. It is the kind of desperate gesture people make when they know it probably won't work. Passenger trains on this stretch move fast, too fast to stop in short distances, too fast for a human-shaped obstacle to register as anything more than a blur until it is too late. Still, the person keeps waving, keeps screaming, as if sheer force of will could slow thousands of tons of steel. Another person pulls out their phone and tries to call the rail company directly. They speak fast, stumbling over their words, trying to explain the location, the emergency, the impossible urgency. The operator on the other end asks questions, protocol standing stubbornly between them and action. The caller snaps, voice raw with fear, insisting the train be stopped immediately. Even as they say it, the growing roar makes it clear that the train is far too close to stop completely before reaching the girl. The pressure in the air changes as the train pulls nearer, a long push of wind traveling ahead of the locomotive. Dust starts to scatter across the ground. Bits of debris skitter along the rails like they are trying to flee. Loose clothing flutters. People shield their eyes. The sound is no longer a sound. It is a force. It swallows everything around it, drowning out shouting, drowning out breath, drowning out the faint whimpers escaping the girl's throat. A few members of the crowd try one last attempt to lift her, thinking that maybe if they pull together, they can break the ropes or roll her off the tracks. Hands grip the ropes, the rails, each other, but the fibers hold. Some people brace their feet, legs trembling from exertion, but nothing gives. The panic escalates until it feels almost physical, like a wave shoving everyone forward and then back again. The man who first spotted the train keeps yelling its distance. He calls out numbers that drop too quickly to feel real. Half a mile, a quarter mile, less. His voice fades in and out under the roar, but the way he stumbles backward tells the whole story. The train is almost here. The front of it is visible now, a blunt steel face charging forward with unstoppable momentum. The rails scream beneath it. The horn blasts, a raw, violent note that cuts through the air and hits every person like a strike to the chest. The crowd recoils, torn between stepping back for safety and refusing to leave the girl alone. The ground shakes harder. The taste of iron fills the air as the engine barrels closer. People scream her name even though they still do not know it. They shout promises to hold on. They plead for time, for luck, for anything that might slow the inevitable. The train keeps coming, its speed a merciless reminder that time is almost gone. Shock spreads across the crowd like a wave hitting shore, fast and disorienting. People who were frozen a moment ago now stand rooted for a different reason. They are helpless in a way that feels personal, like the failing is theirs even though none of them caused this. The girl is right there in front of them, tied to steel, terrified, fighting for breaths that come too fast. The train is roaring closer, and every person watching can feel that sickening twist in the stomach that comes when you realize you cannot stop something that should be stoppable. Eyes widen, hands tremble, voices die in throats that suddenly feel too tight to speak. Some people step back without meaning to. Instinct tries to drag them towards safety. Their minds yell at them to move in, help, do something, but their bodies resist the kind of danger they were never trained to face. The conflict shows in their faces. Brows pulled tight, teeth clenched, shoulders shaking. They want to act. They want to be brave. They want to be the person who fixes this. Instead, they stand still, caught in the awful middle space between courage and fear. Others pace in short, frantic circles, their thoughts spinning too fast for their feet to keep up. They mutter half-formed ideas. Use a belt. Untie the knot from the inside. Lift the rail. Pull the spikes. None of it makes sense. None of it is possible. But when people panic, they grab any idea, even the impossible ones, if it gives their fear somewhere to go. Their eyes dart from the ropes to the train to the girl, searching for a miracle that refuses to appear. A mother holds her young son against her chest and covers his eyes. She tries to turn him away, not wanting him to witness the kind of moment that can carve itself into a memory and stay there forever. But he squirms, confused by the tension in the air, the shouting, the rumbling tracks. She tightens her grip, whispering promises she is not sure she can keep. Her own eyes fill with tears. She tries to blink back. She does not want to see it either. Near the front of the crowd, a man with a reflective vest tries to take charge even though he is not a first responder. He waves his arms and shouts orders. He tells people to clear space. He tells others to keep trying the knots. He tries to project confidence, but the quiver in his voice gives him away. Nobody knows who he is or if he knows anything useful, but right now he is the only one acting like a leader, so people listen. For a moment, they cling to his authority like a life raft, even though it is clear he is figuring everything out second by second just like everyone else. An older woman near the back sobs quietly, her hands pressed together in front of her mouth. She keeps repeating the same words under her breath, a prayer mixed with disbelief. She has lived long enough to know how fast tragedies unfold. She has watched accidents happen in real time before. She knows what it feels like to carry the memory afterward. Her eyes never leave the girl, as if her gaze alone might protect her somehow. A pair of teenagers record on their phones, their hands shaking as the footage captures the scene. They do not record out of cruelty or curiosity. They record because they feel powerless. Documenting feels like the only action available to them, the only thing they can control. They whisper to each other, voices cracking as they hope aloud that someone, anyone, will figure out how to save her. The noise of the train grows so loud that conversation breaks apart. People try to shout over it, but their words get swallowed. The vibration under their feet becomes a steady pulse, thumping through their bones. It pulls their attention in one direction, toward the oncoming locomotive that fills more of the distance with every second. The wind it pushes ahead sweeps across the crowd, carrying grit that stings their eyes and makes them blink hard. A man runs up holding a crowbar he must have grabbed from a nearby truck. He kneels, tries to wedge it beneath the rope, tries to twist and pry, but the angle is wrong and the tool slips, scraping harmlessly against the steel. Someone else drops to help him, pulling at the rope to create tension. They grunt with effort. Their muscles strain. Sweat rolls down their faces. The rope digs in deeper, unmoved. The helplessness hits hardest when the girl lets out a soft, choked sound that cuts through every layer of noise. It is small, but it reaches people in a way nothing else has. Her eyes lock onto the nearest faces. She is not asking for help. She is pleading for it. And that look knocks the breath out of the crowd more effectively than the train horn ever could. It stings, sharp and lingering. leaving people wishing they had the strength, the skill, or the miracle needed to change this moment. Everything changes in an instant, so fast the crowd almost misses the shift. One moment panic owns the space around the tracks. The next moment someone breaks through it with absolute purpose. A Navy SEAL, not in uniform, not announced, just a man who reads the situation faster than anyone else. He has the posture of someone who has lived in danger long enough to stop fearing it the way regular people do. His eyes lock on the girl, the ropes, the train hurtling closer, and he processes the entire scene with a speed that feels unreal. While everyone else freezes or spirals, he moves. He does not waste breath asking questions. He does not stop to analyze knots or scout angles. His body shifts into motion the way a spark catches dry grass. Fast, controlled, precise. He drops his bag without looking at it and sprints toward the girl with a force that leaves a brief silence behind him. Even the people screaming fall quiet as he passes. Something about him cuts through the noise. Confidence, focus, intent that does not waver. He runs like someone who has trained for moments like this his whole life. The ground trembles under the train's approach, but it does nothing to slow him. He leans forward as he picks up speed, his arms pumping, his steps long and sure. Every muscle works with clean coordination. He is not running for attention or heroism. He is running because a situation is collapsing and he refuses to let it collapse all the way. The wind from the train sweeps forward, slapping against his shirt and hair, but he pushes harder. A few people try to shout warnings at him. It is too dangerous. The train is too close. But he does not break stride. He reads the distance without looking panicked. He calculates how much time he has, how much time he needs, and where those two thin margins might overlap. He knows the risk better than anyone watching, but risk has never been the thing that stops him. As he reaches the rails, he drops to his knees on the gravel, sliding the last few feet to the girl. His hands move immediately to the ropes. He does not tug blindly. He tests the knot, the direction of the pull, the tension in the fibers. He feels where the rope is weakest. His fingers are fast, but not frantic. He has cut people out of worse restraints in worse places. He breathes once, slow and controlled, measuring the last seconds before he has to act with full force. The girl looks at him, confusion mixing with fear. She can barely process where he came from. She tries to speak, but the roar of the train swallows her voice. He gives her one quick look, eyes steady, telling her without words to hold on. Then he goes to work. He snaps open a folding blade he keeps clipped under his shirt. The crowd barely sees the motion. The blade flashes, angled with practiced instinct. He slices at the rope near her wrists first. The fibers resist. They are thick and tightly cinched. He adjusts, shifts pressure, cuts again with more force. The rope starts to fray. Strands snap free. He pulls at them with his fist to speed the process. Gravel digs into his knees. Loose stones bite into his palms. None of it slows him down. The train horn blasts again, impossibly loud, shaking the air. People in the crowd scream for him to hurry. He does not look back. He cuts the last section around her wrist and immediately moves to her ankles. His shoulders tense as he leans into the slice. The blade carves through more fibers. His breathing stays even. His movements stay precise. The train is so close now that the air around them feels pulled forward, as if gravity itself is leaning toward the oncoming engine. Dust swirls around them in chaotic patterns. The ground vibrates hard enough to jolt his balance, but he braces himself and keeps cutting. The final knot near her left ankle is the toughest. It is doubled, reinforced, pulled tight by whoever tied it. He digs the blade in deeper, twists, and jerks upward. The rope gives a little. Not enough. He shifts angles again, cutting low, cutting high, slicing through the thickest part. The noise grows to a level that feels physical, like the train is pressing down on the inside of his ribs. Sweat drips off his jaw. His grip tightens. He drives the blade through the last stubborn section. The fibers snap apart in a sudden release that almost knocks his hand back. He tosses the rope aside without looking at it and reaches for the girl, ready to pull her free before the train reaches them. He does not waste a second. The moment the last rope breaks, he hooks one arm under the girl's shoulders and the other beneath her knees, lifting her with a motion that looks almost effortless despite the urgency pressing in from every direction. The crowd gasps as he rises, because the train is so close now that its shadow stretches over both of them. The wind from its approach slams into his back like a wall, hot and fast, carrying dust and grit that sting his skin. He tightens his grip on her and pivots hard, planting his feet in the gravel as he prepares to move with all the force he can muster. Every part of him works with exact intention. His stance braced, his arms locked, his breath steady. He takes a split second to adjust her weight and make sure she won't slip. Her body is weak and shaking, and she clings to him with the little strength she has left. He can feel how cold her hands are, how unsteady her breathing is, how close she came to losing everything. But he cannot focus on that yet. He has only one job now: get her off the tracks. The train horn blasts again, louder than before, so loud it rattles through his bones. The sound is not just a warning now. It is a command. Move or be hit. The pressure of the engine's mass pushes air forward in heavy waves. Gravel jumps beneath his boots. The rails scream under the weight rushing toward them. But he does not look back, because looking back wastes time, and time is the one thing he does not have. He lunges away from the tracks with the girl in his arms. His stride is powerful and long. He aims for the narrow strip of ground just beyond the rail bed, the only space that might keep them clear of the train's reach. The crowd shouts, their voices frantic, rising above the roar for split moments before being swallowed again. Some people extend their arms as if they could grab him from a distance. Others clasp their hands over their mouths, afraid to watch yet unable to look away. The ground shifts under him as loose stones slide beneath his boots. For a second it looks like he might stumble, but his training shows. His body reacts faster than thought, adjusting his weight, tightening his core, steadying his stance. He refuses to drop speed. He pushes through the slip, muscles firing in absolute sync. He holds the girl tighter and keeps running. Her head presses against his shoulder. Her breath comes in quick, shallow bursts. She tries to look at the train, but he shifts her face toward him instead, not wanting her to see how close it is. She nods faintly, trusting him without question. He feels the fear in her trembling, but he also feels the small surge of hope that sparks when someone finally believes they might survive. The roar behind them grows impossibly loud. The heat of the engine washes over his back. He can almost feel the metal. He pushes harder, driving his legs with everything he has. His boots slam against the ground. His grip stays iron tight. His heartbeat matches the pounding of the tracks beneath them, but refuses to falter. The people closest to the rails jump back, giving him space as he clears distance inch by precious inch. Someone shouts that he's not far enough. Someone else screams that he can make it. The tension in the air is almost a physical thing, stretched to its limit, ready to snap. Every eye follows him. Every lung holds its breath. Every second feels stretched thin, then thinner. He clears the rail bed with a final bound, lifting his knees high to avoid the uneven ground. Even as he lands, he does not stop moving. He keeps going until he reaches the rough patch of dirt where the gravel fades and the ground steadies. Only then does he drop to one knee, still holding the girl, still shielding her from the train that barrels past them at full force. The rush of the engine tears at their clothes and hair. Debris whips through the air. The noise shakes the crowd. The pressure wave rolls over them. The train flashes by in a blur, unstoppable, unforgiving, seconds away from where they had been only moments before. But he stays locked in place, his body curved protectively around the girl, absorbing the impact of the air, the vibration, the chaos. Only when the worst of the pressure fades does he shift his hold, making sure she is upright and breathing steadily. Her fingers clutch his shirt. Her face presses against his chest, damp with sweat and tears and dust. She is alive because he moved faster than fear, faster than doubt, faster than the train that nearly claimed her. The crowd stares in stunned silence, their shock replaced by overwhelming relief as they take in the sight of the two of them, safe against all odds. People watch him holding the girl, both of them coated in dust, both shaking from the rush that has not yet worn off. And they realize something they will carry with them long after this moment. They have just seen the kind of courage that only shows itself when everything else falls apart. The kind that arrives before thought, before doubt, before fear has time to take root. It hits them that bravery is not loud or dramatic in the moment. It is not the speeches people imagine they will give in a crisis. It is a single choice made in a fraction of a second by someone who refuses to stand by and let the worst happen. The crowd looks around at each other, still catching their breath, still trying to process the fact that the girl is alive. The train has already sped down the tracks, nothing more than a disappearing force of metal and sound. In its wake, there is a strange quiet that feels almost unreal, as if the world hit pause after so many seconds of chaos. People stare at the spot where she had been tied, the ropes scattered and frayed, the gravel still trembling from the train's passing. They replay the scene in their minds, trying to understand how someone could see that level of danger and run toward it instead of away. A few of them walk closer, slowly, almost reverently, unsure if they should approach or keep their distance. The seal sits back on his heels, still holding the girl steady until he is certain she can stand on her own. His breathing is controlled but heavy, the kind of breathing that comes after a sprint made with full commitment. Sweat mixes with dust on his forehead. His hands shake only slightly, not from fear but from the intensity of what he had to do. And yet he does not act like someone who just performed something extraordinary. He checks the girl's pulse, her wrists, her ankles, studying the rope marks with a calmness that belies how close they came to losing her. To the people watching, that calm says everything. It shows experience, discipline, training that taught him how to control adrenaline instead of letting it control him. It shows that courage is not about being fearless. It is about doing what must be done even when the stakes are life and death. They see him speak softly to the girl, grounding her, helping her steady her breaths. His voice is low and steady, the kind that can cut through panic without raising volume. She listens like every word matters. It gives her something to hold on to while the rest of her body shakes from the shock. Someone nearby whispers that they expected a hero to look different, maybe louder, maybe larger than life. But the truth sits right in front of them. Heroism is quiet in the aftermath. It looks like dirt-streaked hands and a simple, reassuring nod. It sounds like calm instructions, soft questions, gentle reassurance. It feels like someone stepping into the darkest possible moment and dragging another person back into the light without hesitation. A few people finally find their voices. They thank him, stumbling over their words, still overwhelmed. He nods in acknowledgement, but does not stand up to take credit. He does not puff out his chest or launch into a story. He keeps his focus on the girl. He does not let the attention shift the priority. To him, what he did was necessary. Not impressive, not unbelievable, just necessary. The crowd sees that humility, and it reinforces the lesson forming in their minds. Courage is not about wanting recognition. It is about responsibility. It is about the choice to act before thinking of yourself. They watch him lift the girl to her feet carefully, supporting her weight as she tries to stand. Her legs tremble. Her voice shakes. But she is standing, alive, breathing, enough to make a few people wipe tears from their eyes without trying to hide it. Witnesses begin talking quietly among themselves. Some speak about how they froze. Others admit they were scared to even move. A few confess they thought she was gone the moment the train came into view. But none of them feel shame. Instead, they feel awe, because seeing someone rise above fear shows them what humans are capable of when instinct, training, and purpose merge into a single moment. A teenager who watched everything whispers to his friend that he wants to be like that someday. Not because of the action, but because of the certainty, the steadiness, the willingness to run forward when every instinct pulls you back. That idea spreads through the crowd, not spoken, but felt. The realization that courage does not belong to a rare group of people. It is a choice anyone might make, but only some actually do when the world demands it. The girl leans into the seal's shoulder, her eyes closed, breathing steadier now. The people around her stand in a circle of quiet respect. They know they just saw the line between life and death, and they saw someone cross that line without hesitation to pull another person back from it. They know that no matter how fast the train was, someone was faster. Not because of strength alone, but because courage pushed him forward when every second counted.